and around the world. Blockchain enables faster and cheaper transactions, from trading securities to sending money to relative abroad, and this is only the beginning of that inclusion revolution. Inclusion revolution. Let's talk about innovation. I've talked about innovation, so why do I talk about innovation again? Because I want to tell you a little bit about fintech. The immediate priority should be to foster cutting-edge financial technology. You've heard that before. That means creating fintech products that are substantially cheaper, more accessible, and more user-friendly. It means serving customers and communities in new and better ways. It also means rethinking the economics of the financial industry itself. Bear with me. In the United States, for example, the unit cost of financial intermediation has remained largely unchanged over the past century, while income from finance has risen and fallen with the value of financial assets. Now that suggests a significant amount of rent extraction. The fintech response to that is to increase competition, reduce inefficiencies, and provide better value for money to individuals and small businesses. And in doing so, fintech can help drive an inclusion revolution. In Kenya, in China, mobile payment systems have brought millions of previously unbanked people into the financial system. In Latvia, in Brazil, and elsewhere, peer-to-peer lending has opened up new sources of credit for small businesses. And around the world, blockchain enables faster and cheaper transactions, from trading securities to sending money to relative abroad. And this is only the beginning of that inclusion revolution. You'll say you've picked examples in developing countries, emerging markets maybe. No, it applies to advanced economies as well, because we shouldn't forget the 1.5 million people who in this country still have no bank account. We should not forget the 33 million US households who are either unbanked, that's a terrible word actually, it's like deplane, let's say underbanked or do not have a bank account. And obviously those numbers are much larger in emerging and developing countries. So there is a huge opportunity to boost financial inclusion, which, as we know, leads to stronger growth and higher employment. And this in turn requires vibrant digital ecosystems such as London, which is home to the biggest cluster of fintech startups in Europe. Now that won't go away, whatever the outcome of what is not talked about tonight. But fintech will not do it alone. We also need better regulation and smarter supervision to ensure that fresh sources of credit do not encourage people to overborrow and that personal data is protected against prying eyes and criminals. In other words, banking-type fintech services should be subject to banking regulations, especially when it comes to consumer protection. For new firms, this means working with regulators to unlock the immense potential of fintech while managing the risks. This is the goal of what we have called the Bali FinTech Agenda that was launched by the IMF and the World Bank last October. It provides the key principles, including on promoting competition and consumer choices and fighting money laundering or the financing of terrorism. And that Bali Agenda can actually help guide their endeavor and our joint endeavor in the period ahead. And together with a few enlightened, we are going to pursue that agenda. Now, you would probably be fairly disappointed with me if tonight, as I'm talking about this inclusion revolution, I was not going to go a little bit beyond fintech.